Welcome back to Tomorrow's Technician for the next candidate for the 2022-2023 Blaster Instructor of the Year. Hi again, everyone. I'm Doug Kaufman with Tomorrow's Technician, and have we got a story for you today. You know, every instructor has his or her own special style, their own way of reaching their students. This month, we went down to Tampa, Florida to meet with an instructor whose interest in his job, let me rephrase that, his obsession with his job, finds him teaching hundreds of students a year, some of whom are children of students he had years ago. Rick Fortney approaches his teaching career like he approaches life, with passion, excitement, and enthusiasm. 3 decades at the same facility has not dampened his spirit, although he does recognize he needs to start slowing down a little bit just so he has time to do everything else he plans. Let's hear from Rick Fortney about why he loves his job.
As a kid, my dad and my uncle started me out working on cars, and my dad used to help me work on cars, and then I found out I was helping him work on cars, and finally I just started fixing them for him. So then I went to Tampa Bay Tech here as one of our local schools as an automotive student, and there I met a gentleman named Jack Campbell, and Jack Campbell came from a Cadillac dealership. Well, when I graduated, I went to work at the Cadillac dealership, kind of followed in his footsteps a little bit. And lo and behold, I ran into him one day and he was telling me, he goes, "Hey, Rick," he goes, "I've got an automotive position open over here at the school." He goes, "You ought to come over and teach with me." And he goes, "Put in your application." So I did, and there were 26 people applied for one job. I made it to the final 2. They flipped a coin and picked the other gentleman because he was a Ford technician, I was a Nissan technician. So I'm like, what am I gonna do now? I guess I'll just stick to cranking wrenches. And I got a phone call that Bloomingdale High School was looking for an automotive teacher. So over here I came, interviewed, and I've been here for the last 30 years. This school's been open 35 years and there's been a grand total of 2 instructors. I've also worked at Falkenberg Jail for the last 3 years. I opened up that program. It was my deal. I walked in there day one and I said, "Do you guys have curriculum?" They said, "Yeah, you're the curriculum. Everything that we have is based on whatever you can set up over here." So in the last 3 years, I built a program over there that it is the only one in the state of Florida. It was the only automotive program set up through the jail system in the state of Florida. So between me being proud of my accomplishments here with these students and my accomplishments over there at the jail, between the 2 different places in the last 2 years alone, we've put out over 400 ASCs between the 2 different places. That's what it takes for these kids to get jobs. The more ASCs you got, that helps pad your resume. I've got inmates and students working together at the same automotive places. Right down the street here, I have one of my former jail students and one of my former high school students, and they both know who each other are because I got both of them jobs. I have over 50 locations where I've put people to work. I had 2 students that ran into each other working at Volvo Corporate. The funny part with that is they just happened to be at lunch together, and they were 4 years apart in my classes, so they didn't know each other. And they were sitting there talking at lunch and found out both of them lived in Florida, near Tampa, Valrico, Florida. Fortney's class? Yeah, Fortney's class. So I got a phone call about that. So you never know where my students are gonna pop up. All I can say is I'm gonna keep on doing this as long as it's still fun. And right now, it's still fun. Kids need to have some kind of a future. And I tell them they're stuck with me. I'm their school dad. I have students come back and see me now that are in their mid to late 40s. Haven't had a former student stop by and see me in his 40s since last Tuesday during conference. He's 43 years old. His son was in my class. He's now in his mid-20s, and his daughter's in my class right now. It takes a village, and this is my village. Not a chance. I planned on staying in the automotive field, working my way up to management, retiring from there. but working at the Nissan dealerships, working at the Cadillac dealerships, working at the Datsun dealerships, yes, I'm that old, I was usually the one they would send the new techs to help train them. So I figured, since I've been training students, well, or fellow techs for years, why not come over here and do this on a professional basis? And I got over here and I love it. I've spent half my life in this one building. I have never taught anywhere except right here, except for over at the jail. I try to show excellence in my program by trying to demonstrate some of the things that I need my students to do. In 30 years of teaching here, I've called in sick one time. I have all my ASCs to be Master Tech plus 2 more, and I show them if I can do it, they can do it. And there is no reason that they can't, and I'll do anything and everything in my power to make sure that they accomplish this. When I first started teaching here 30 years ago, things have changed drastically. Now, everything's electronics. Now, everything's certification based. My students were not getting any certifications when I first started here 30 years ago. Now, I have students that get all 9 of our student ASCs, and they go on and get the adult ones. Right now, the more ASCs you can get, the better off you have a chance of getting a job. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that that's what they're getting. And that wasn't this way 30 years ago. Being recognized as one of the finalists for Blasters Teacher of the Year, that's my Super Bowl. That's as close as I'm ever gonna get to my Super Bowl. And if I win this, I'm going to SEMA. Here in Hillsborough County, our superintendent goes around and picks certain programs to put on his website, and last year our program was chosen. So Addison Davis came over and we did video, and he talked to a bunch of my students, and he got to meet one of my students last year that had succeeded at getting all of his ASCs. I'm not saying I'm getting used to this, but I'm really liking that I am starting to get used to this. When I took this program over 30 years ago, there were 80 students. My first advanced class was a grand total of 8, and the program was on the brink of going away. I've built this program up now to the point where every class is full. My principal complains to me, goes, if I keep doing this, he's going to need to put in a second instructor, because the program's gotten so big, and right now we have a 300 student waiting list just to get into the program. I'd like to say that this program has exploded with fantastic students for the future of the automotive industry. Of course I do. I was helping out on the ground floor, like I said, of the jail. I've also helped out on the ground floor. One of my friends is a supervisor on the other side of Florida. She came over here and spent the day with me, and she just recently opened up a program over there. Well, she texted me last week and said, my instructor is moving on at the end of the year, and could I please try and help her fill that spot? Within a half hour, I had somebody to fill that spot, and when she called me up, she goes, Rick, what is your problem? Why did it take you a half hour? I expected it sooner than that. My job is to keep these programs open if at all possible. I run a brain trust meeting once every 9 weeks with all the automotive instructors in Hillsborough County. We meet for dinner. I've been doing this for the last 10 years, and the only time we've missed in the last 10 years was we missed one during COVID because we had a hard time finding open restaurants. We're just trying to keep Hillsborough County schools at the top of their game. I'm very proud of this county. Even once I retire, I'm never going to be gone. My brain trust meetings, they're mine. I'm the one that set them up 10 years ago, and I'm going to make sure they continue. I've already been warned by my other teachers that I have to do this. Sure, why not? This is a fantastic county that I've helped build, and I will not let it go downhill under any circumstances whatsoever. Nothing really new, just continuing what we've accomplished so far. I want to see as many students get ASEs as possible. I want to make sure that I continue to keep putting out great students into the industry. One of my students asked me one time, doesn't it bother you that you put out students that make more money than you? I go, no. Isn't that what a parent's dream is? To always have their children do better than they did? So my job is just to keep on putting out good people, and as the industry changes, be able to evolve.
Rick Fortney is automotive instructor at Bloomingdale High School in Valrico, Florida, and is the February candidate for the Blaster Instructor of the Year. Rick, on behalf of all of us at Babcock's Media, Tomorrow's Technician, and our friends at Blaster Corporation, congratulations. You're one of the 6 finalists for the National Instructor of the Year Award to be named in May. As you're no doubt aware, for the past several years, we've been telling the stories of amazing automotive and technology instructors with our Instructor of the Year program. We've had some amazing candidates, and we're excited to unleash Rick on the world. But who's next? We have 2 more teachers to celebrate before we announce the grand prize winner in May. If you know a worthy candidate who deserves to be considered for recognition by Tomorrow's Technician and Blaster Corporation, tell us his or her story by visiting tomorrowstechnician.com, opening the Contests tab, and filling out the simple Instructor of the Year form today. I can't wait to hear your story too. I'm Doug Kaufman. Thanks for everything you do.